So this is a kind of 200 subscriber. Thank you guys for watching the videos and giving feedback and joining stream and hanging out. So this build guide is for air, and there are a lot of different builds on air, but I went ahead and recorded one here that I think is a good starting place for giving you some of your bearings playing air. So for starters, you know, your Cortex, that's important because Cortex fighters are better, and a bunch of other reasons that goes kind of down into a rabbit hole. I'm going to keep this kind of high level. This is more targeted at newer players to air, so stick around and see if you learn anything. But generally though, we're going to start with, well, here where everyone else starts, and we're going to end here with a lab, a fusion, and it's 10 and a half, and we're 10 and a half minutes into the game. And I'll explain along the way what's going on. And this build seems like a pretty garden variety pass at it. You're obviously it's very dependent on wind, but that's not an unusual time to have a lab with this build, so it can be a little slower, a little faster. It just depends. So yeah, let's get into it. So to start with, we go 3 mechs. So I'll let it play a little bit and kind of talk about what's going on. We go 3 mechs. I see a lot of people go 2 mechs on air. Basically never do that. You need every bit of metal you can get. So going 2 mechs on air kind of cripples your ability to get your T2 mechs done faster, i.e. and then like metal later on. So always go 3 mechs. We make 3 wind here. Sometimes you have to make a 4th one or a 5th one if wind is dead, but see how good wind is? You want to make sure that you're not overbuilding wind early because you're going to float it when you should be building your lab. So here I'm giving myself 4 windmills because the C players should give me 4 windmills. And so yeah, I'm enabling the ability to do that. But yeah, you build the lab, and then so immediately I'm going to queue up 2 scouts and 2 transports, and then each C player gets a scout and a transport. It's important that you do this because for like GOC, for example, they'll just lose the game. They have to have a transport, or they basically can't play the game. They'll, against like a really competent player at least, like there are some all-ins that basically prevent them from getting in the water. Pretty brutal. So you always want to give it to them first. I'm blowing them up because I don't need them anymore. But yeah, so yeah, next is Beach Sea. Goes by many names, Big Beach, etc. But yeah, then they get it. So they're going to take that scout, they're going to see what's going on, see who their opponent is, etc. And then take this transport, and then they're going to take this, Beach Sea is going to take this transport and go to the island. Usually, or they're going to take a constructor that they buy from Geo and go to the island. But not really of any of our concern. Hopefully they know what they're doing. And when wind kicks up like it is, we want to make a storage because we're going to need the energy to go into construction turrets. You can see I'm floating a little bit of E right here, but it's like 20. So I built like 1 extra windmill I shouldn't have built. So that's, I mean, it happens. So now we're banking some of that E right now, and we're focusing at this construction aircraft. One thing to note with construction aircraft is they're very build power intense. See how long it takes to make this? So, you know, we put down a con turret, con boosts it, and then we take this mechs, the 4th mechs. It also takes 30 seconds to build that with the air constructor. They don't have a lot of build power, so that's just something to keep in mind. You want to ramp your build power. You want to get to 3 con turrets. Well, you technically want to get to 5, but you want to get to 3 as fast as possible. It's hard to get to more than 3 if your eco player is going to ask for metal for T2. So usually about the best you can do is 3, and you should just be building wind. And you want to get to like 25 windmills or so. Technically you can do it with less, but if the wind dies, then you're just hosed. So we're just boosting out windmills here. We're light on E. We're just going to boost these out. You can see I also made 2 fighters. You got one in the south, one in the north, and they're covering the edges. If a bomber is trying to slip in early, they may show up there, and they're going to be really hard to deal with if you don't have a fighter in place. And they'll also stop scouting and cheese, like people that send construction planes, stuff like that. So we got our 3 con turrets. I'm going up to 5 fighters here. You'll see some people only do 3 fighters. In general, this build is not an aggressive T1 build. It's a kind of fast T2. If you play Age of Empires, it's like fast castling or something. It's really popular on Supreme because the rush distance is so far. And there are counters to this build. It's not a... No build is without a counter, but this is a good one, I think, especially if you're in like, you know, low 20 OS, probably all the way up into the 30s. If you execute this build well, you can basically always be competitive. If they're going to T1 all in you early, you may die. Alternatively, they could T1 all in, fail, which is what a lot of T1 all ins do, and you will win. So, because you'll be very ahead. So at this point in time, your eco players should be giving you T2. Some eco players are really slow, and they don't, but this is a normal timing to get a T2. Like if I was playing eco, my air player would have a T2 right now, at this exact time. So I ate my lab. That's important. Always eat your lab when you're upgrading your mexes. You need the metal. And go up to 5 con turrets. So this is a good example of why you need the storage here. So I think wind is going to die. I'm making these solars here because I want to pay, in air quotes, for that T2. Kind of like I bought from Eco. So yeah, you notice here that we have a hard time with energy, and this is a good example of what you can do to not get hosed. So see, like wind is on 4, right? Imagine if I had made like 8 less windmills or something, it'd be even worse. One thing you can do is what I do here is you just send your constructor to go get E. Ideally, we would spend that 125 metal by now. So I'm tagging these mexes. You want to build one at a time, but I'm tagging them for like transportation purposes. I gotta move this con around to tag them. So now we move the con, and we're gonna eat the palmettos and little cactus looking things. Important, that second mex, I have the majority of my build power building that. I'm not building them evenly. I'm building one a lot more than the other one because I want it to get done as fast as possible. I even paused that one. So we're still eating stuff. Wind is still terrible, so wind is going to kick up a little bit. Still not even on wind. Normally I would have put my fusion down and blown my comm, but because wind has been so bad, I didn't have the energy to spend. So, but now like wind is full again, wind's kicking up, so I want to blow my comm so I can spend that energy and turn that into a fusion. But ideally you put the fusion down beforehand, because those 4 con turrets were kind of chilling, not building anything, and so ideally they never stop being used. It's just the wind didn't work with us this game. Happens. Alright, we move the con turret back down. We're still reclaiming the commander. You don't want to reclaim them all the way because you might need to res it later. Not the end of the world, but it is kind of nice. So things are pretty even. This basically seems pretty level. This is one part that a lot of people don't know about, is just you want to go ahead and eat this con here because it's 500 metal. And it'll help you, get your build power built and your lab, so it speeds things up quite a bit. So definitely not a trivial amount of time. And you can see that I'm spending my metal evenly, like -41 plus 39. So that's important to note too. One note here of balance, for balance purposes, you only want to build 3 con turrets. Like I queued up 4, 3 is probably better. After fusion, you want to build your build power first, and then any converters after that. And I'm hitting in. I play on grid keys. I'd recommend you play on grid keys. They work really well. I'm hitting in as in next here to move to the next building in queue. So here you'll see I build wind next. And that's because I don't have enough metal to for my build power to build my lab kind of in one go. I probably should have left my slider a little higher too, because a T2 lab takes a bunch of energy, and you'll see that I stall here in a sec, but around like 2400 is like the magic number. I started a little early, so I'm gonna stall some, but you'll get the idea. Usually once you're at 2400 metal, you can build your, and you're on a fusion, you can build your lab. I stalled just a little bit. And if I had waited another couple seconds to hit 2400, it would just kind of worked out.
Battle paused.
So yeah, we paused here. And this will kind of get you through the early part of the build. And just kind of a general thing to practice. And that's pretty good, something to go off of, at least early. But I do this build the exact same way every time. So I want to talk about a couple things here. We have just like the way that the base is laid out, because there's a reason for that. So we have the converters on the left here, and that keeps the converters away from your build power, so that it doesn't kill it. It doesn't kill them. At least early. In late game, it's kind of hard to get around, but they're there on purpose. Those initial con turrets were all built where they were so that they hit every single one of your mexes. That's important. That way it's centralized and you're not wasting any build power. And then the second kind of set of build power, those 3 at the top there, they expand kind of northward. And then you end up with a lot of build power. That's 6 wide. You see the 3, imagine there's another 3 on the left, and then that column expands, you know, northward to increase your build power, right? So whenever you're floating metal, and you can't, spend all of your energy, you want to add build power continuously on air so that you build planes faster, and so that you can eat your lab and build fusions faster. The main thing is to like minimize downtime, minimize the downtime that you're exposed. And as far as the build goes, that's basically it. I don't want to take too much time, I don't think, past this. There's a lot of rabbit holes here for air and a lot of builds, honestly. This build is weak to them, like early T1 all-ins can kill this build, but this build is good again as like a general build. Anyone who's a little slow on their T1 build, you'll kill them with T2 figs. And at lower OS, you'll easily kill them. If they send like a naked bomber or 2, you'll kill them with the fighters. So you can use that scout up there. If you manage to get a scout, you can kind of you might be able to determine what you're going to do. You might not. Scouting's really hard. So executing your build is really important. It makes up for a lot of not so good things that happen where like you get build ordered. Essentially, they have a build that's good against yours, and then you're on the receiving end of that. So, but that's all for this video. Let me know in the comments if you like the format, or you think that I should change it or try something else. But past that, that's it. Thanks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. And thanks for 200 subs.